Bank of Canada is finding new authority, particularly in the power of bailouts. And no doubt with the Canadian economy teetering on a credit bubble fueled by the central bank's low interest rates and manifesting in the housing sector, the wealth effect that Canadians have been feeling for the last few decades, particularly since 2009, is coming to an end. So the bank is taking precautionary steps right now, including the power to bail out provincially regulated institutions like Quebec's Desjardins Group Credit Union, which is a C.D. Howe Institute supporter, and it's been approved by the Power Corporation. And it's worthy of noting that the Desjardins chair of the board, their president and CEO, Monique Leroux, is also a member of the Trilateral Commission and also the Canadian Council of Chief Executives. Now, Bank of Canada Senior Deputy Governor Carolyn Wilkins gave a press conference on these new powers. Here's the press release, and I can tell you right away, you can see that the bank believes that too much money can be a fecal friend, but not enough money amplifies financial distress. So if this sounds to you like what Comer and their lawsuit are demanding, well, it's because it's actually very, very similar. Comer points out the giant casino that this debt-based fiat system is, but in the end, their economic analysis is really no different from the central banks. You know, just the right amount of money created out of thin air is to the benefit of the people it ultimately serves, businesses and households who save and borrow. Well, no, it isn't, actually. Whether it's fiat that benefits the cronies in the Canadian Bankers Association, or it's fiat that pays for schools and hospitals, paper money is just bad economics. You know, it's not the money itself that is the wealth. Money is just a medium of exchange. It's the most marketable commodity. For example, you know, the effectiveness of, say, gold as a money is much more superior to something like goats or, say, old newspapers. Now, mind you, goats and newspapers can fetch you a price. They're not really very marketable as money, and so they're not usually accepted as a medium of exchange. Gold and silver and other commodities, on the other hand, like seashells, have a long history of being an effective medium of exchange. Now, you don't need a central bank when money isn't paper. And you don't need someone in Ottawa making decisions to ensure that exchanges are priced more appropriately in the market. But that's what Wilkins has said. You know, the whole point of these new powers is so that the Bank of Canada can promote stability and resilience of core funding markets, which is really just fancy talk for we're just going to create money out of thin air. In normal times, as well as during times of extraordinary market stress. So, just more money all the time. And it's that market stress that is the effect of creating money out of thin air in the first place. So it doesn't matter if it's a fascist system like we have now, or some utopian idea of a central bank funding national projects like railways and hospitals or hockey arenas. And if the central bank does initiate these interest-free loans necessary for these various projects, well, what free and fair democratic government is going to implement the bureaucracy needed to facilitate these funds? I mean, Canada is not free. And forcing the Bank of Canada to do something is not going to just automatically solve our problems with a corrupt government and an entitled class of civil servants. The Bank of Canada is the establishment. It is owned by you and me on paper, but that paper is just as fake as Her Majesty's notes. But nevertheless, these announcements about bailing out provincially regulated institutions and other tweaks, including things like adding mortgages to a list of collateral that financial institutions can put up in order to get these bailouts, it's all really just about giving that false sense of security. None of the fundamentals have been corrected, and in fact, it's much, much worse now, especially in Canada, federal budget surplus or not. And this is just blatant corporate welfare to the political elites. You know, it's right there for anyone to read. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When it's financial corporations and it's the value of money itself at stake, people just accept it. If any other corporate conglomerate behaved like the banks, with a single central authority and a government-protected cartel of competitors, well, there'd be riots in the streets. Oh, wait, I guess we have gotten to that point. You know, the financial side of things was first and imposed incrementally and through propaganda and culture rather than outright conquest. And prior to this global awakening, it was difficult to get people to accept that there was even a curtain, let alone a man behind it. But as this financial conquest of elites merged with the arms industry, social engineers, and pretty much every facet of society, there's definitely been a huge surge in discontent. In part, no doubt, because fascism is just simply an economic system that doesn't work. As the common man gets poorer, the elites get richer, and opposition grows. But eventually debts will be reined in. The system is going to reset itself, and things are either going to get better or they're going to get a lot worse. Now, this puts Monique Leroux and Bank of Canada governors and deputy governors into a very interesting position. You know, here they are serving the elite. They are the elite, but they're public and serving higher powers unseen. So when this economic system does correct, those who are hanging on to large amounts of gold are going to be okay. But some of these bankers whose livelihoods are dependent on this, you know, the guys who trash gold as a barbaric relic, well, I think some of the most powerful people today may soon be the most vulnerable people tomorrow. So that's all for today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check the links in the description for all the sources to this video. And stay tuned, guys. We got a lot more videos coming very soon right here at pressfortruth.ca.